but it is that time of the night, Stokes, where I do my Luka's locks. It looks like I didn't frame in my title perfectly, but that's okay. I had a lot going on for this episode. It's fun when Josh is doing this because Josh can lead into it, Stokes, but I'm almost happier that you're here with me doing this because unlike Josh, I think he dabbles, he maybe dips his toe in betting once in a while, but I know you're a man like myself who likes to really dive into the books a little bit here and do his stuff. So a fun edition of Luka's Locks here. I will, of course, do one pick of my own and everything like that. I'll even let you share your thoughts on it, but then we will also have two of Stokes's solid picks. I don't know. I just came up with that on the spot. I can't alliterate that one as much, but we will have two locks of Stokes as well tonight because Stokes has a couple on his mind that he likes a lot. So first things first here, Stokes, the game I am going to first on my card is a divisional game, also in a division shared with the Jaguars. That is Titans at Colts with the AFC South. It's intriguing to me because you have two almost polar opposite teams in my mind. You have one team in the Titans who are very erratic with a very vanilla quarterback in Ryan Tannehill, and they really don't have an identity, even though they have, in my mind, a very good head coach in Vrabel. Now visiting the Colts, who have an incredibly dynamic quarterback, but have also no identity with a brand new head coach, but they're fun to watch week in, week out. They had an incredible game against the Rams that they somehow let slip. Well, the Rams went out big. They came back and then let slip in overtime. The Colts did, and the Rams came out with a walk-off Nakua touchdown. Shout out to Puka Nakua, one of the best names in the NFL right now.
Yes,
I don't know if I necessarily like a side in this game, but there is one thing I like in this game, Stokes, a lot. And that is Titans Colts to go over 42.5. I feel like that, even though it is a divisional game, and divisional games I feel like traditionally are under games, I love these two teams to be able to put up points. I feel like the Titans, even though they are erratic, match up well against a Colts defense that does have leakiness to it. And then the Colts themselves with Anthony Richardson can do anything at any moment in time. He is one of the more fun quarterbacks to watch in the league already at this point. Everything like that. It points to me to over 42.5. I have a little asterisk on the DraftKings line there because I believe it is 43 even, if I remember. Maybe it's 43.5. That's where those odds are a little different. So you get over 42.5 at FanDuel at minus 118. What are your thoughts on that pick, Stokes?
Yeah, I tend to agree because I think the Colts, they're gonna it's gonna be difficult to keep them off the scoreboard. So I could see them scoring between 20, 28 points. Because Anthony Richardson, whether he's playing well or not playing well, like it's gonna be exciting to watch. So whether it's their offense, and you have to factor in probably Jonathan Taylor coming back. So how that's going to factor into everything. I can see why it's leveled a little bit low, because if you have Jonathan Taylor and Derrick Henry, you would think that those guys are going to turn the clock, and it's going to be that way. But I tend to agree with that over because the Titans, the defense is not great, and you have these guys on the Titans and the Colts that I feel like they can get behind defenses if that's the case, or in a situation where Anthony Richardson having to chase. Like if they're down late and he has to chase, I can see them covering, or maybe not covering, but getting it over later in the game.
Yeah, it's they can be had over the top. They can chunk plays can be had for both offenses in this game. And that to me just overall kind of moves the check mark to an over, especially at a line that this is where my head was at. I just thought this was a 45.5, 46.5 game when I saw the line of 42.5, and then now starting to bleed into that 43.5 based on where money is going. I just think you should jump on it. I think 42.5 is just too low of a number. As I just talked about in the beginning of this though, Stokes, what is your first lock? I don't have a graphic for this, people, so I do apologize because Stokes kind of just came on and told me what they were right before, but we will still honor these. Stokes, what is your first lock of this week?
All right, so my first lock is going into a game that it is not a divisional matchup, and it's a matchup with teams that are I guess both inconsistent in a way. I'm going with the Houston Texans and Atlanta Falcons game. The Houston Texans are getting a lot of praise, well deserved, because CJ Stroud has been really good. D'Amico Ryans, like since he left the Niners, like there's been hopes that he would be a good head coach. He's done really well with this rebuilding type of project with the Texans. They're traveling to Atlanta. They just played the Jags, and they looked really bad. But Atlanta is a different squad. Like it went at the Mercedes Benz, or I think it's called the Mercedes Benz. Anyway, they're a different squad at home. So you have those guys. I don't trust Desmond Ridder a lot, but I do trust Bijan Robinson. I love watching him play. I love watching him run, and I feel like this is a game. They're only laying 1.5, and I think there's a little bit of inflation due to the Texans having these last couple of weeks where they're really good. So my expectation is that the Falcons are going to play well at home, and the Bijan Robinson and the rest of the team, they're going to ice this game. I say they're going to win by 4 or 6.
Ooh, 4 or 6, even throwing out a number there if you want to bet a win by exact score situation there, or exact margin, I believe is technically what it is. Yeah, I like the Atlanta. I think it's a little bit of a sharp play. I think you're getting a lot of public action on Houston. As you said, there's a lot of love for them because what they did last week against the Steelers followed up from a game against the Jags where they blew out a divisional opponent that people like a lot when it comes to the Jags. And then Atlanta at home is just a different beast than on the road. I think even though Desmond Ridder might not kind of pop to anyone, I think they can manage games well at home. And overall, I like that pick. Going back to now my second pick in here, we are going to travel to the city of Detroit. And I am going at Panthers at Lions. Look, this is not a game I suggest anyone puts on a TV at their house. I will only have this on a very small portion of a screen, even in my 5 television living room, just because I need to keep an eye on this for this segment alone. But there's something in this game that it didn't make sense to me. And I was monitoring it throughout the week. And for a long time, it was -10, -10.5 at one point. And then news came out today that Amon-Ra is doubtful. Most likely, if you look at the injury report, I would tend to lean that he's going to be out, especially in this day and age when you see a player doubtful. It's very long odds that he will play that game at the end of the day. With that in mind, you saw it move from that 10 to 9.5. And as soon as I saw that line, Stokes, move to 9.5, boy, did I like the Lions all of a sudden, because there's 2 things. The Panthers are the most uninspiring team in the league. I cannot stand watching a single minute of Carolina Panther football right now. Josh and I have beat this drum to death, it feels like, even though we barely talk about it, where it's like, how can you draft Bryce Young over CJ Stroud? On top of that all, I think Frank Reich just doesn't have a feel for the NFL right now as a play caller. So when you're putting a rookie quarterback like Bryce Young on top of that, I think their offense is just not there and it doesn't click. It just doesn't work. And the defensive side of the ball for the Lions has been very impressive so far this season. They've actually been a very good run and pass defense overall statistically. And when you cope that with a bad offense, I just think even without Amon-Ra St. Brown, the Lions do have enough at their arsenal. Also, by the way, fun fact, the Panthers' run defense is even though statistically it might not feel that way. I think that's just because overall chunk plays have been there in passing games. And the Lions, I think, can have a very sound day with Montgomery. Gibbs is questionable, although I think he fully participated in practice on Friday. So I would tend to think he's going to play. But even if it's just David Montgomery out there, I think they'll be fine on the ground. And Jared Goff, I think, has been very good for them in their offense overall. They have a good sync going on, and they still have other things. Jameson Williams, of course, is coming back from his gambling suspension. Ironic as we talk about gambling here. But overall, I think there's too much in the Lions arsenal and not enough for the Carolina arsenal, that as soon as I saw that line move to 9.5, Stokes, I had to jump on it because it just feels too good to be true.
Yeah, I definitely get it. Like laying double digits against professional teams, it's really tough. I don't know what the last few numbers have been like, but like when you have double digits, it's really difficult to when you have professional squads out there, and when you have a team like the Panthers, you would think that a rookie quarterback like Bryce Young would get better over time. And they have decent enough weapons on the offensive side with wide receivers as far as Thielen goes. Like if he trusts Thielen or however that tends to go. But as you mentioned with the Lions, their offense, like it was really good last year. The loss of Amon-Ra is going to be a problem, but I think when you take out Amon-Ra and you add Jameson Williams, it's going to add a different dimension as far as what they do offensively. Like if the running game is working with David Montgomery and Gibbs, like that's going to only make Jameson Williams a more effective player. So I don't know what type of snap count he'll be on, but he's going to be a problem anytime he's on the field. So I would expect that the Lions are going to cover that. I want to have opposition to your picks, but unfortunately right now I don't have any.
Yeah. Look, this is a lock segment, Stokes. I don't want you against my picks.
True.
Please do not have opposition to these picks. That would be a problem, and I would feel much lesser about these locks. So overall, please do not thinking about that before we go into our 2-unit play here. You have a second pick, Stokes. Lead the charge here on your second lock of the weekend.
One of the biggest stories in the NFL, I would guess, is that the Bengals have looked really bad, looked really weird in their games. People are questioning what's going on with Joe Burrow, what's going on with the offense, what's going on with everything. And it's so much so that they're down to a 3-point favorite facing the Arizona Cardinals, who everyone thought they were just going to tank for Caleb Williams. So when I see that type of thing, they're only giving up 3 points against a team that is not supposed to be good. And when you have all the rhetoric around the game where Joe Burrow is like understands the seriousness of this, my expectation is that the Bengals are going to go out there and they are going to blow out the Cardinals. Like they're only laying 3. I would probably try and juice it up to like -6.5, -7, and see whatever you can get as far as the plus money goes. Because like I don't think this game is going to be close. I feel like the Bengals are going to dominate this game.
Yeah, this is a do or die. We heard Joe Burrow say it. It's incredible to me when you're in week 5 and you hear a star quarterback who understands the context of a long season come out and go, "This is a must-win game. We can't lose this game." And it's like, he's not wrong, one, but that is eyebrow raising. That is like, okay, they understand the severity of this game. They're not going to look past the Arizona Cardinals, and they do take this game seriously. I love that pick personally. I contemplated it a lot for my locks. Overall, though, it's just something about Joe Burrow was just like, I want to believe that he's back and everything. I still like the pick, Stokes. I just couldn't love it enough to do a lock of my own. But hopefully for any Bengals fan out there, it hits, because if you are not covering 3 points against the Arizona Cardinals, I think your season is not going to quite go as much as you hoped it would have been in the preseason. So yeah, I like that pick. It's a do or die when you have a team back against the wall. They better be covering 3 points. My final pick here, Stokes, is going to be the Sunday night game. It's the best game on the card. It is going to be fun. It's going to be hard to record the Bills Chat podcast, which comes out every Monday morning for anyone that does not listen. If you do not listen to Josh or myself Monday mornings, you can find us anywhere you listen to your podcast or YouTube here as well. It's going to be hard paying attention at times when Josh is doing his beautiful, intros and everything like that, because Cowboys at 49ers is going to be incredible. And I think the best thing that happened to this line was the Cowboys not coming off that Cardinals loss and yet having another dominant performance in between that Cardinals loss and this game. And it held that line at essentially a field goal going to the side of the home team. And in a lot of people's eyes, I think that's a good line. The problem here is I think the Cowboys offense is a little bit of a fugazi. I just don't believe in that Cowboys offense nearly enough. In the games where they dominate, as we've seen 3 of the 4 games, they just don't look even as effective as they should be. And the defense steps up and whatnot, but I think they're starting to show a little bit chinks in the army. Of course, they're without Trayvon Diggs as well for the rest of the year. That is a very unfortunate injury. He's a vital part to that defense. And when you come up against a team like the Niners, who can get you from a lot of different levels, and Kyle Shanahan, fun fact, absolutely owns the defense he will be playing against traditionally, boy, I see San Fran -3, which, by the way, I am buying that half point. Like, do not bet 3.5 lines, people. Although I will say this stat that is kind of the final drive home here on why it's my 2-unit play, and you probably can take your 3.5. I just refuse to bet 3.5, Stokes. That is just, you are asking to win by a field goal, and you will hate yourself for betting that 3.5. The Niners should absolutely be able to take care of the Cowboys. I think that defense will eat against the Cowboys offense, and then the 49ers just have too much for that Cowboys defense overall, that if it's not working with Ayuk, they can find Debo. If it's not working for Debo, they can really lean on Christian McCaffrey. And, oh, hey, by the way, here's George Kittle, who really hasn't exploded yet this season. He's due. If you haven't hit your due, he is due for a big game. So you just don't know where it's going to come from overall. And of course, Purdy does a fantastic job under center, operating this offense and doing exactly what Kyle Shanahan wants him to do. The stat I will leave you with, Stokes, just so you understand why this is my 2-unit play. The 49ers have covered 9 straight home games, 15 of the last 17, and won 12 of those 15 games by 15 plus points. So it's just like, how in the world, when you see them at this level of play against a team that, even though they're dominating in wins, it's not exactly inspiring in how they're doing it. How can you not take the Niners at home when it's such a short line at 3.5 technically, but I'll take them at 3 or 2.5, depending on where you are. The asterisk, by the way, at FanDuel -156, because they don't do an even odd since it's 3.5. How in the world can you bet on Dallas, and how can you not bet on the Niners?
Yeah, like they've gone at or above 30 every single game this season. Like the offense, it looks really, really, really good. They have elite players at running back, at wide receiver, at tight end, and you have a guy in Brock Purdy who plays within himself every single time he's out there. Like he doesn't try to do too much. He understands that the guys he's got, and he trusts them. And if you just look at the defensive side, they have players in the first 2 levels that are like all world, and Nick Bosa and Fred Warner. Like you have those guys who can also dominate a game. Like it is really a situation where I don't really understand so much why it's only 3.5 or 3. Like this isn't. They're giving basically the home field bump, like 3 points, like,
right,
thinking that they're even squads, and it doesn't seem that way. Like the Cowboys offense, it doesn't look like it looked in years past, where it's like, well, if the defense just catches up with the offense, they're going to look okay. That is not the case right now, and I feel like 3 or 3.5 is a gift from the Vegas gods, and I just feel I would pound that, or will pound that when it comes to Sunday night. Hopefully there's a bunch of winnings from Sunday morning and afternoon where I can put everything into the Sunday night game. That's what I hope for.
Yeah, exactly. You want to increase that bankroll because this line just seems too good to be true. Yeah, overall, it was crazy to me when I was even hoping that Dallas public money would come in and actually move it to a true 2.5 or 3. It never really came. But to me, that is what indicates Vegas knows what they're doing here, and they're leaving it at 3.5 because they're just praying. They are absolutely praying it's Niners winning by a field goal, and that's where this game will be. So, yeah, real quick to just go overview here. We have a 1-unit play on Titans Colts over 42.5. These are my locks. We will get to Stokes's real quick just to recap here. But Titans Colts over 42.5, 1 unit on Lions -9.5 against the Panthers, and slap those 2 units or more, please responsibly. 2 units on the Niners -3. Buy that half point, people. Please do not bet 3.5, because if you watch that game-winning field goal go in, whether it's overtime, whether it's the end of regulation, you will absolutely hate yourself. I love that for a 2-unit play. And Stokes, you had what again as your 2 locks of the weekend?
Atlanta -1.5 against the Texans, and the Bengals -3 at the Arizona Cardinals.
And those, my friends, are your locks. Hopefully we do not have an 0-3-0 week like we did in week 4. That was a tough one to swallow, Stokes. I'll be honest, but yeah. Hopefully everyone makes money. Please be responsible as you do this. But overall, this is a fun time. And those are your locks for the weekend. Please, one last time, bet responsibly.